So today I'm going to talk to you about Castlevania Legends. Now this was recently re-released on Nintendo Switch Online. If you have the Game Boy emulator downloaded, you can play it. I'm really big into the Netflix Castlevania series, and I enjoy the later installments of the Castlevania games, the ones that aren't technically canon. Now, Castlevania Legends is not considered canon, but I think it still has a great amount of potential, and especially because we don't see too many female Belmonts, and that's exactly what this game centers around. So you play as Sonia Belmont, the lone teenager of the Belmont family, and it looks like when you start the game, you're just trying to take out all the vampires and demons in Transylvania. And I love her design, the braid, the kind of exotic or mystical clothing. I think it's really well done. If you look at the Castlevania wiki page, you can see that she has kind of the standard Belmont story where she is kind of orphaned. Her grandfather is killed by monsters, and she is passed down the whip of the Belmont legacy. And I have to say, it's just pretty cool to see a female Belmont. I mean, even in these Game Boy graphics, while there's not much detail to Sonia Belmont, her lack of detail allows players to kind of create their own image of what a female Belmont would look like. As you can see, combat is nothing complex. It's just your standard jump and attack. It took me a while to figure out how to even climb on this rope here. And monsters aren't really tough. This is actually pretty easy compared to other Castlevania games. While the story may not be canon, I think it still would be interesting to see a whole remake happen with updated graphics, or something like the Castlevania Lords of Shadow graphics. It just has so much potential, especially when you learn that Alucard is her love interest and that her son is supposed to be Victor Belmont, who ends up actually neglecting his duties as a Belmont vampire hunter, monster killer. But I mean, there's so much you can do with that. They even had a game following Castlevania Legacy that they were going to continue this series with, and it could have been something that drew a lot of interest. It's interesting that she was paired with Alucard, because that would mean that the Belmonts have a link to vampires. They have vampire blood in their system, and that seems to be something that Konami wants to kind of bring into their games, but I wonder if it's because of fallback from the fan base that they don't include those in the canon. It can also be because it does mess up the official timeline, where we start out with Leon Belmont as the progenitor of the Belmonts. And if we have Sonia and then Victor, Victor who now has the vampire blood, it just changes everything. I mean, the Belmonts are supposed to be sworn enemies of the vampires. If they're tainted with the blood, kind of changes the dynamic of the series.